Right now, deputies are working to figure out why a 14-year-old allegedly killed his parents.
Yeah, deputies say the teen called 911 just after midnight, saying he killed David Lee and Brandi Smith. Their bodies were found inside a home on Silver Point and Country Road 220 in Clay County. Deputies found the teen at a church about 1 mile away from the home.
It's just after midnight on August 4th, 2025, when a 14-year-old boy steps out of the shadows of suburban street, his sneakers crunching against gravel. He's alone, walking 1.5 miles through the darkness to a church parking lot. His hands tremble as he dials 911, his voice steady but hollow. "I just killed my parents," he says, the words slicing through the silence of the dispatch line. The operator's breath catches. Deputies race to a house on Silver Point, where 2 lives have been extinguished and a community sense of safety is about to shatter. This is the story of Trevor Lee, a straight-A student, a football player, a kid who seemed to have it all, until a single argument spiraled into an unthinkable tragedy. David Lee and Brandi Smith, his parents, were beloved, funny, and fiercely devoted to their son. So, what drove a 14-year-old to pick up a gun and end their lives? Was it rage, despair, or something deeper, something no one saw coming? And why did he walk to that church to confess, as if seeking absolution in the shadow of his crime?
"They're in the house, please. Please. Send help immediately. Ambulance." I threw my backpack away from me. I'm stripped. I'm waiting for the police.
What do you mean you're
I have
stripped?
nothing in my pocket. I emptied my pockets and everything.
Go ahead, I'll listen to you.
Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now.
I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
Before we dive into this heartbreaking case, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comment below, and let's start a conversation. What do you think pushes a child to commit such a devastating act? Stick with me as we unravel the dark truth behind the Middleburg murders, a case that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about family, loyalty, and the human heart. Picture a house on Silver Point, nestled in the Fleming Island area of Middleburg, Florida. It's a modest, single-story home with a neatly trimmed lawn, the kind of place where neighbors wave and kids ride bikes until dusk. Inside, David Lee, 44, and Brandi Smith, 45, build a life filled with love, laughter, and the chaos of raising a teenage son. The walls of their home were lined with family photos. David coaching Trevor's youth football team, Brandi cheering from the sidelines, Trevor grinning in his Lakeside Junior High School yearbook picture. To the outside world, they were the picture of a tight-knit family, the kind that welcomed friends like family and never miss a game. David was a man of quiet strength. Born and raised in Clay County, he worked as a mechanic, his hands always stained with grease, his smile quick to ease any tension. Friends describe him as a guy who dropped everything to help you fix a flat tire or grill burgers at a neighborhood barbecue. He had a dry sense of humor, the kind that made you laugh before you even realized it. Kyrie Beeman, Trevor's best friend, remembers David as a second father. He'd drive me to football practice, crack jokes the whole way. Kyrie told reporters, "He loved me like a son." David's pride in Trevor was evident in every conversation. He'd boast about his son's grades, his speed on the field, his potential to shine at Fleming Island High School, where Trevor was set to start as a freshman just days after the tragedy. Brandi was the heart of the family, a vibrant woman with a laugh that could fill a room. She worked as an office manager, juggling schedules and spreadsheets with the same fierce dedication she brought to motherhood. Her social media posts painted a picture of a woman who cherished her family above all else. She shared a photo of Trevor at a school event, captioning it, "My boy's growing up too fast, but he's still my heart." Yet, that same year, she hinted at challenges, writing, "Parenting a teenager is no joke. Pray for me." It was a fleeting glimpse into the struggles of raising Trevor, but to those who knew her, Brandi was unflappable. She organized family game nights, baked cookies for Trevor's football team, and never missed a chance to tell her son she loved him. A cousin, speaking to news outlets, called her the glue that held everyone together. Trevor Lee, at 14, was a paradox, a bright ambitious kid with a future that seemed limitless, yet a teenager navigating the turbulent waters of adolescence. He was a straight-A student at Lakeside Junior High, known for his quick wit and quiet confidence. On the football field, he was a force, his speed and agility earning him respect among teammates. Kyrie Beeman, who'd known Trevor since elementary school, described him as a great kid, a great brother. They'd spend hours playing video games, talking about girls, or dreaming about making it big in football. Trevor's bedroom was a shrine to those dreams. Posters of NFL stars, a shelf of academic awards, a worn-out football sign by his dad. But there were hints of tension beneath the surface. Brandi's 2019 post about Trevor, giving her trouble, suggested the normal push and pull of parenting a teen, but records later revealed 5 prior calls for service to the Lee Smith home. The details of those calls remain sealed, but they hint at moments of conflict that never made it to the public eye. Neighbors described Trevor as polite but reserved, the kind of kid who'd mow your lawn but rarely lingered to chat. He was always with his parents, one neighbor told investigators. You'd see them together at the grocery store, at church. They seemed so normal. Middleburg, with its sprawling oak trees and close-knit neighborhoods, was a kind of place where everyone knew your name. The Lee Smith family was woven into its fabric. David and Brandi were regulars at Cross Point Church, where they'd attend Sunday services and volunteer for community events. Trevor, too, was no stranger to the church, often tagging along for youth group activities. The church's parking lot, where Trevor would later make his chilling 911 call, was a place of solace of family, a symbol of their faith and connection to the community. Their friends paint a picture of family that seemed to have it all: love, stability, and a shared vision for the future. Kyrie's mother shared photos of David and Trevor in matching American flag t-shirts, beaming at a 4th of July barbecue. Another friend recalled Brandi's infectious energy at a school fundraiser, rallying parents to support the football team. They were the best family I knew, Kyrie said, his voice breaking in an interview with local news. I don't understand how this happened. As we move forward, we'll step into a night that changed everything, a night that began with an argument and ended in bloodshed. What could drive a son to turn against the parents who love him? Let's piece together the final hours of David Lee and Brandi Smith, minute by haunting minute. The sun sets over Middleburg, casting a golden glow across the quiet streets of Silver Point. It's Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, and the Lee Smith household is winding down after a typical weekend. David spent the morning tinkering in the garage, a project car half assembled under his tools. Brandi was in the kitchen, prepping meals for the week ahead, the smell of her famous chili wafting through the house. Trevor, fresh off of football practice, is in his room, scrolling through his phone or playing a video game. To anyone passing by, it's just another summer evening in a small Florida town. Kyrie Beeman, Trevor's best friend, later told reporters he spoke to Trevor around midnight that night. He called to say goodnight. Kyrie said, "He told me he loved me. It was normal, you know? Nothing seemed off. But something was brewing beneath the surface, something that would erupt in the hours to come." Sometime late Sunday night, the atmosphere in the Lee Smith home shifts. Sheriff Michelle Cook, in a press conference the following day, described a domestic argument between Trevor and his parents, though the specifics remain shrouded in mystery. Was it about school, where Trevor was set to start as a freshman in just a week? Was it about rules, grades, or the pressures of being a teenager in a tight-knit family? Investigators have yet to release details, but the argument was significant enough to push Trevor to a breaking point. Picture the scene, the living room, dimly lit by a single lamp. David, his voice firm but calm, tries to reason with his son. Brandi, ever the mediator, stand between them, her hands raised in a gesture of peace. Trevor, his face flushed with teenage defiance, paces the room. The air is thick with tension, words flying like sparks. Maybe it was about screen time, a grounded phone, or a missed curfew. Maybe it was something deeper, a resentment that had been simmering for years. Whatever the cause, The argument escalates, voices rising until the house feels too small to contain them. Just after midnight, the argument moves to the parents' bedroom. David and Brandi, perhaps exhausted, retreat to their sanctuary, hoping to defuse the situation. Trevor follows, his emotions a tangled storm. Somewhere in the house, a firearm, believed to belong to David and Brandi, is within reach. Was it stored in a bedside drawer, closet, or a safe that Trevor knew how to open? The details are unclear, but what happens next is devastatingly certain. Trevor picks up the gun. The weight of it feels foreign in his hands, yet he doesn't hesitate. In the bedroom, David and Brandi are caught off guard. The first shot rings out, a deafening crack that echoes through the silent house. David falls, a bullet piercing his chest. Brandi screams, her voice cut short as another shot finds her. The autopsy later confirms multiple gunshot wounds for both victims, their lives extinguished in moments. The house falls silent again, save for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Trevor stands frozen, the gun still in his hand. The reality of what he's done sinking in. The clock ticks past 12:30 a.m. He doesn't flee. He doesn't hide. Instead, he places a gun down, perhaps on the bed, perhaps on the floor, and walks out into the night. Trevor steps out into the humid Florida air, his breath uneven, his mind racing. He walks 1.5 miles across Swimming Pen Creek, his sneakers pounding against the pavement. The streets are empty, the world asleep. Cross Point Church looms ahead, its steeple a silhouette against the starry sky. This is a place Trevor knows well, a place of Sunday sermons, youth group pizza nights, and his parents' faith. Why does he choose this spot? Is it guilt, a need for sanctuary, or something else entirely? In the church parking lot, he pulls out his phone and dials 911. The call, later released in heavily redacted form, captures his voice, calm, almost mechanical. "I just killed my parents," he tells the dispatcher. "They're at the house on Silver Point. I'm at Cross Point Church. I'll wait here." He empties his pockets, tosses his backpack aside, and sits in the middle of the lot, as if preparing for judgment. He mentions needing to pray, a haunting detail that raises more questions than it answers. At 3:48 a.m., deputies from the Clay County Sheriff's Office arrive at Cross Point Church. They find Trevor exactly where he said he'd be, sitting alone in the parking lot. He offers no resistance, his hands raise in surrender. Simultaneously, another team of deputies enters the house on Silver Point. The scene is grim. David and Brandi lie in their bedroom, blood pooling beneath them. The gun, left at the scene, is recovered, its ownership traced back to the couple. The house is otherwise untouched. No signs of a break-in, no evidence of anyone else present. Trevor and his parents were the only ones home. Sheriff Cook later confirms the preliminary timeline. The argument, the shooting, the walk, the call. This appears to be an isolated, domestic-related incident, she tells reporters, her voice heavy with the weight of the tragedy. But as deputies secure the scene, one question lingers. What could push a 14-year-old to such extreme act? As we move to the next chapter, we'll dive into the suspects, or in this case, the singular suspect, and the motives that investigators are still piecing together. Was Trevor a troubled teen hiding a dark side, or was this a momentary lapse that destroyed a family? Stay with us, because the truth is far from clear. In the quiet town of Middleburg, Trevor Lee was the last person anyone expected to become a suspect in a double homicide. At 14, he was a model student, a talented athlete, and a kid who seemed to carry the hopes of his parents on his young shoulders. His teachers described him as diligent, his coaches as driven. Yet, on August 4th, 2025, he became the sole suspect in the murder of his parents, David Lee and Brandi Smith. The question on everyone's lips, how could this happen? Trevor's arrest was swift. After his 911 call, deputies took him into custody without incident, charging him with 2 counts of second-degree murder. The evidence was undeniable. His confession, the gun left at the scene, and the absence of any other suspects. But evidence only tells part of the story. To understand why Trevor pulled the trigger, we need to look deeper into his mind, his life, and the moments leading up to that fatal night. Sheriff Michelle Cook's statement about a domestic argument is the only clue we have to the immediate trigger. The details of that argument remain locked away in redacted police reports, but investigators are digging into Trevor's mental health history and school records for answers. Was this a one-off explosion of anger or the culmination of years of tension? The 5 prior calls for service to the Lee Smith home suggest a history of conflict, though their nature, whether domestic disputes, behavioral issues, or something else, hasn't been disclosed. Let's consider the possibilities. Adolescence is a volatile time, and Trevor was no exception. At 14, he was navigating the pressures of high school, football, and parental expectations. Brandi's 2019 social media post about Trevor, giving her trouble, hints at earlier struggles, perhaps defiance or rebellion typical of a teenager testing boundaries. But was there something more? Did Trevor harbor resentment, perhaps over strict rules or unmet expectations? Or was there an underlying mental health issue, undiagnosed or untreated, that pushed him to the edge? Kyrie Beeman's account of their midnight phone call adds another layer. Trevor's words, "I love you, good night," sound like a farewell, as if he knew what was coming. Did he plan the act in the heat of the argument, or was it a spontaneous decision, fueled by a moment of rage? The fact that he used his parents' gun suggests access and opportunity, but not necessarily premeditation. In Florida, second-degree murder charges imply an intentional act without prior planning, which aligns with the narrative of a heated dispute gone horribly wrong. In a case this shocking, it's natural to search for alternative explanations. Could someone else have been involved? Investigators quickly ruled out external suspects, confirming Trevor and his parents were the only ones home. The gun, recovered at the scene, belonged to David and Brandi, and no signs of forced entry or theft were found. Yet, the community's disbelief has fueled speculation. Could Trevor have been coerced or influenced by an outside force, perhaps online peers or media? Sheriff Cook's team is examining Trevor's phone and online activity, but no evidence of external involvement has surfaced. Another theory points to mental health. Was Trevor struggling with depression, anxiety, or a more severe condition that went unnoticed? His academic success and athletic prowess suggest a kid who had it together, but high achievers can hide deep struggles. The sheriff's office is reviewing his mental health history, but without public details, it's hard to say whether this was a factor. The walk to the church and his mention of needing to pray could indicate remorse or a spiritual crisis, but they could also reflect a calculated attempt to shape the narrative. Middleburg's tight-knit community struggles to reconcile the Trevor they knew with the boy in the mugshot. He's not a monster, a cousin of Brandi's told news outlets, her voice trembling. He was a good kid, a straight-A student. Kyrie Beeman echoed this, insisting Trevor was more than his actions. He made a bad mistake, Kyrie said, but that's not all he was. These defenses paint a picture of a boy caught in a moment of inexplicable violence, but they also raise questions about what signs, if any, were missed. The motive remains the biggest puzzle. Was it a power struggle, a cry for help, or a tragic accident born of impulsivity? The lack of clarity keeps viewers guessing. And as we move to the next section, a shocking twist in the investigation will deepen the mystery. What did deputies uncover in the days following Trevor's arrest? And how did it change the way Middleburg saw this case? On August 5th, 2025, the Clay County Sheriff's Office released a heavily redacted audio of Trevor's 911 call, along with his mugshot and arrest report. The call, though stripped of key details, offers chilling insight into Trevor's state of mind. "I threw my backpack away from me," he tells the dispatcher, his voice eerily calm. "I emptied my pockets. I'm in the middle of the church parking lot. I need to pray." The mention of prayer sends a shiver through listeners. Why would a boy who just committed such a heinous act seek a spiritual refuge? Was it genuine remorse or a calculated move to garner sympathy? The mugshot, too, tells a story. Trevor's face, pale and expressionless, stares into the camera, his eyes hollow. It's a stark contrast to the smiling kid in family photos. The boy who just days earlier was tossing a football with Kyrie. Reporters noted the community's reaction to the image, shock, grief, and a desperate search for answers. That's not the Trevor we knew, a neighbor told local news, shaking her head. Something broke in him. The case exploded across news outlets and social media, with headlines screaming teen kills parents in Florida shocker and Middleburg boy's deadly confession. Online discussions swirl with theories, from mental health crises to family dysfunction. Some pointed to the accessibility of firearms, questioning why a gun was within Trevor's reach. Others speculated about abuse or neglect, though no evidence supports such claims. The lack of concrete details fuel wildfire speculation, with true crime forums dissecting every angle of the case. Sheriff Cook urged the public to come forward with information. Provide a hotline 904-264-6512 and a safer watch tip line. We're looking into Trevor's mental health and school history, she told reporters, emphasizing the ongoing nature of the investigation. The 5 prior calls to the Lee Smith home became a focal point, with online sleuths theorizing about domestic issues, though authorities remained tight-lipped. Middleburg grappled with collective grief. Cross Point Church, where Trevor made a confession, became a makeshift memorial with flowers and candles lining the parking lot. Friends like Kyrie Beeman struggled to process the loss. They were my second family, he said, tears in his eyes. David and Brandi didn't deserve this. A cousin of Brandi's echoed this, calling Trevor's actions unfathomable, but insisting he wasn't a monster. The community's love for the family clashed with their horror at Trevor's actions, creating a fracture that's still healing. Investigators turned their focus to Trevor's digital footprint, analyzing his phone, social media, and online interactions. Was he influenced by violent content, peers, or a hidden ideology? So far, no red flags have emerged, but the process is ongoing. The sheriff's office also examined the gun storage, raising questions about firearm safety in the home. Florida's lax gun laws came under scrutiny, with some news outlets pointing to the ease of access as a contributing factor. The biggest twist, though, lies in Trevor's behavior post-arrest. Unlike many juvenile offenders, he offered no defense, no excuses. His silence in custody has baffled investigators, who expected a teenager to crack under pressure. Is he protecting someone, or is he simply grappling with the weight of his actions? As the case moves toward trial, one thing is clear. The truth is more complex than a single argument gone wrong. As of August 6, 2025, Trevor Lee remains in custody, charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. Florida's juvenile justice system allows for serious crimes to be prosecuted as adult offenses, but no decision has been made on whether Trevor will be tried as an adult. His silence in custody and the redacted nature of early evidence make it hard to predict the outcome. The Clay County Sheriff's Office continues to investigate, focusing on Trevor's mental health, school records, and the family's history. The 5 prior calls to the home loom large, but without details, they remain a tantalizing clue. The community of Middleburg is left picking up the pieces. Memorial services for David Lee and Brandi Smith drew hundreds, with mourners sharing stories of their kindness and humor. Cross Point Church has become a hub for grief counseling, offering support to those affected. Yet, questions linger. What drove Trevor to this point? Could anything have been done to prevent it? And what does justice look like for a 14-year-old who confessed to such a crime? David Lee and Brandi Smith were more than victims. They were a father and mother, friends and neighbors, the heartbeat of their community. David's laughter, Brandi's warmth, and their unwavering love for Trevor defined their lives. They dreamed of watching their son graduate, maybe even play college football. Instead, their lives were cut short in a moment of unthinkable violence. As we reflect on their story, let's honor their memory by remembering their light, not just the darkness that took them. This case raises hard questions about family mental health and the systems that shape our lives. What do you think happened that night on Silver Point? Was Trevor a troubled kid pushed too far? Or is there more to this story we haven't uncovered? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. and let's keep this conversation going. If you're moved by David and Brandi's story, consider sharing this video to raise awareness about the complexities of juvenile crime and the need for mental health support. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the dark truth of the Middleburg murders. Subscribe to Dark Truth File for more stories that challenge, haunt, and inspire. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep seeking the truth.